Nissan has a long heritage of building sharp handling Z-badged sports cars going back to the 1960s, and this smart-looking coupe is the current custodian of that moniker. With the rumbling V6 engine, heavy manual gear change and low-slung driving position, it's very much in the mold of the Old Testament two-seater performance coupes that precede it. In terms of performance, it competes with top-end models like the Porsche 718 Cayman, Audi TT and BMW 2 Series, but represents far better value for money. Large displacement, naturally aspirated engine. There's only one motor to choose from in the 370Z range, a larger-than-life 3.7-litre V6 with either 328 or 344 horsepower depending on whether you pick the standard car or the Nismo Tune version. Either way, it's a big-hearted unit with plenty of power on tap, plus a distinct lack of turbocharging, unlike the majority of its rivals. That gives it a different character to something like a Porsche 718 Cayman, which makes do with a smaller, less characterful powerplant. Simple range to navigate. Only 3 trim levels exist in the Nissan 370Z range: the standard car, the GT and finally the Nismo tweaked model. Entry-level cars come with lots of kit, including 18-inch alloys, keyless entry and ignition, climate control and a limited slip differential. Climbing up to GT adds things like sat-nav, while the Nismo car comes with a particularly airy-looking bodykit and standout ducktail spoiler. Old-school handling style. The Z's German rivals offer something more of a refined driving style. The 370Z is much more hairy-chested, with heavy control weights and scruff-of-the-neck appeal. It's actually quite sophisticated in its handling, however, with loads of grip thanks to a standard limited slip differential. The traction control is also quite keen to step in when things start to get out of shape too. In 2018 a new clutch was installed that promised a slightly lighter action, and this has certainly helped the overall usability of the 370Z. The verdict is more and more of the Nissan 370Z's rivals adopt smaller engines and turbochargers. The hulking great 3.7-litre V6 in this car is beginning to be a real selling point. That's in combination with an overtly physical and involving driving experience that has all been refined out of the two-seat sports car market. If those two characteristics are a priority for you, then your pool of cars seems to be diminishing by the day. Here's a 6-pot coupe for hot hatch money. Very limited engine choice, just one petrol, 2 states of tune though, standard and Nismo. Plenty of straight-line performance either way. Only one engine is available in the 370Z. And as the name suggests, it is a 3.7-litre V6. The standard car produces 328 horsepower at 7,000 revolutions per minute and 363 Newton-meters torque at 5,200 revolutions per minute, while both it and the Nismo top out at 155 miles per hour. It rumbles into life when you press the starter button, and on the move it chunters away, providing effortless acceleration. 0 to 62 miles per hour takes just 5.3 seconds. Or 3/10 more in the automatic version. This isn't a twin clutch system as on the GT-R, but it is still mightily impressive with slick and rapid shifts, while steering column mounted paddles allow you to change gear manually. There are huge reserves of power, even higher up the rev range, but it's always delivered smoothly and predictably thanks to its lack of turbocharger. The standard gearbox is a 6-speed manual, but it's not the slickest transmission around and makes driving at slow speeds or in traffic quite tricky. A rev matching function makes downshift smooth, and this maintains stability under braking, but it doesn't mask the mechanical feel of the gearbox as you swap ratios, which could well feel agricultural to drivers of more civilized sports cars. Nismo model is more powerful, providing increased punch. For the Nismo car is a tuned version of the V6 petrol engine from the regular model. Power jumps to 344 horsepower and 371 Newton-meters torque at the same engine speeds as the standard car, and these modest gains in power are reflected in a single tenth being snipped off the 0 to 62 miles per hour time. Those improvements are negligible on the road, so we'd recommend sticking with the standard car if all you're interested in is performance. Not as hairy-chested as the looks and reputation suggest, more of a brute than refined rivals like the Porsche Cayman. Great steering and fade-resistant brakes, plus roll-free ride. The Nissan 350Z has a reputation for sometimes being quite rough and ready, and a handful in wet conditions, but we found it generally composed, especially when accelerating out of corners thanks to a standard limited slip differential. It's very involving and enjoyable to drive on sweeping roads where we found virtually no body lean in corners, plus the steering is hefty and provides plenty of feedback. As fun as it is though, The 370Z lacks the finesse of its rivals, but that harder-edged distinction could win the Nismo fans among enthusiasts who crave something a touch more hairy-chested. Hard acceleration on uneven or wet roads will easily prompt the traction control light to flash on the dashboard. This can be easily deactivated with one button push if it frustrates you, but we'd recommend reserving this for track use only. Nismo model turns up the heat, delivering the power through the enormous Nismo-specific 19-inch alloy wheels, wider at the back to rein in the car's accelerative urges. The 370Z is very controllable and steady unless provoked by an eager right foot of the throttle. Do so and the handling becomes livelier. Those larger wheels and stiffened suspension settings, by 15%, lowered by 10mm, combined to make the 370Z Nismo less compliant than the standard variant, particularly at slower, urban speeds. Less contentious are the quality of the brakes, offering progressive power from high speeds, thanks to ventilated discs front and rear, with little fading after repeated heavy use. The weighty steering continues to engage and keep you focused, delivering accurate lines through corners. It provides enough feedback to feel confident knowing how secure the front of the car is. Interior is attractive and solidly built, looks very old school compared with rivals. Nismo model adds grippy Alcantara as you'd expect of a sports car. The driving position is low down and tarmac scraping, with ergonomic access to all the main controls. Tall drivers will find plenty of headroom, although we struggle to fit while wearing a race helmet, so that's worth considering if you're over 6 foot and plan to take it on track. The driver's seat also has more pronounced side bolsters for holding corners along with extra under-thigh support. The finish of the interior and quality of materials used is good but looks thoroughly dated now. Nismo car adds performance focus from the driver's seat. It's predominantly detailed changes that distinguish the Nissan 370Z Nismo interior from its siblings. Many of the interior plastics, particularly those that are in regularly contact with your hands, feel well constructed, although for a car of this price some of the detailing and switchgear feels a little below par key rivals. The trio of ancillary dials on the center top of the dashboard, angled purposefully towards the driver, hark back to the car's 1970s 240Z forebear without delving too deeply into the realms of retroism. Trims and upholsteries feel appealingly tactile, with a part Alcantara steering wheel and faux sway door panels, although some may be disappointed with the lack of leather seats, even as an option. Despite being sat low, the view out of the 370Z Nismo is generally good, particularly ahead of you. The door mirrors are usefully large too, which is just as well as the Nismo's beefed-up rear spoiler obscures about a third of the visibility through the rear-view mirror. It's not so bad for monitoring traffic coming up behind you, but for reversing you rely on the camera a lot. Suspension is firm but not crashy, more settled but noisy on faster roads. Nismo spec seats are comfy and grip well if you're buying a VIN sports car. Comfort is unlikely to be high on your list of priorities. Happily though, bumps at urban speeds are transmitted firmly rather than harshly through to the cabin. The 370Z settles down a bit on motorways, but then you have to deal with noticeable road and engine noise, which can become irritatingly intrusive over longer distances. In town it can be a tiring car to drive in traffic due to the heavy controls, although cars updated in 2018 benefit from a lighter clutch pedal. Nismo car softer than it looks. The Nismo version of the already firm 370Z is more cosseting than you would expect, despite the larger wheels and stiffer suspension. It has been slightly softened for Europe, meaning the ride is hardened rather than hardcore. At higher speeds though, undulations in the road that the regular 370Z would largely soak up can cause the Nismo version to be unsettled and fidgety. Frustratingly, the steering wheel is only adjustable for angle rather than reach, meaning some drivers will find their ideal, comfortable driving position somewhat compromised. Getting in and out of the low-set seats might not be easy for the less than agile, but once in there it's a pleasant environment, thanks to the standard single temperature control climate control with aircon. Lots of room for 2 occupants on the plus side. There's plenty of interior space for the 2 occupants on whichever version, including good headroom, and the seats offer excellent side support while still being soft enough for long-distance comfort. Both seats are electrically adjustable as standard, although it's hard to adjust them with the door shut, and all models have climate control. There's also an e-pad on the central tunnel for both the driver and passenger, which is useful for more enthusiastic driving. On a positive countering note, the Nismo-specific seats are not only very supportive but comfortable too. All too often sports cars are fitted with seats that are hard, lacking in padding and which squeeze your middle. Other conveniences such as electric windows and the four-way adjustment of the cloth upholstered seats make the 370Z a reasonably civilized car in which to travel. No need to have a chiropractor's number on speed dial, anyway. Limited amount of modern tech goods. Standard specification. Though Nismo branded personalization options the Nissan 370Z offers a very simple lineup. There's the standard base spec car, the GT, and then the standalone Nismo model. Cars from 2018 onwards also feature new 19-inch wheels and a different clutch, plus darkened door handles, head and tail lights, in an effort to make it look more like the Nismo car. Standard Nissan 370Z coupe equipment from the get-go. The 370Z is well equipped, offering the following as standard: 18-inch alloy wheels, black carbon cloth seats, driver's seat height adjustment, aluminium pedals and footrest, leather steering wheel, LED daytime running lights, automatic lights and wipers, keyless entry and ignition, electrically adjustable, heated and electric folding door mirrors, climate control, LED rear lights, limited slip differential, synchro rev control. The next trim up, called GT, offers the following upgrades: 19-inch alloy wheels, suede door trim, black leather and suede seats, hill start assist, cruise control and speed limiter, active noise cancellation and enhancement. Nissan Connect Premium includes a 7-inch touchscreen, hard disk sat-nav, Bluetooth, USB port and DVD playback, rear color reversing camera, Bose audio system, heated, electrically adjustable front seats with driver lumbar support, rear wiper. Finally, there's the top spec Nismo model, which includes a more powerful engine as detailed in the performance section. Plus, Nismo body kit, 19-inch lighter weight raised alloy wheels, Nismo dual endorsed Nismo spoiler, Recaro sports seats, leather, Alcantara steering wheel, signature Nismo red interior, stitching optional. Nissan 370Z coupe extras. There's plenty of personalization to choose from here, with things like mud flaps and aluminium door sills, plus some more practical items including a storage net and luxury floor mats. Safety options such as a tracking system and parking sensors can be added. Plus there's a host of Nismo-themed kit including mirror and valve caps, roof and side stickers, and different wheels. No Euro NCAP rating for 370Z. Active safety kit is a bit sparse. No ISOFIX child seat mounts either. The Nissan 370Z has not been subjected to the rigors of Euro NCAP due to the low level of expected sales, being a specialist sports choice. Automatic lights and wipers help you see and be seen in the first place, while Bi-Xenon units up front and LEDs at the rear ensure high levels of illumination. In addition to ABS, there's electronic brake force distribution, EBD, to maximize your stopping power, and electronics designed to keep the car stable during more extreme road conditions. Seatbelts have a shoulder height adjuster as well as warning lights for non-fastening, while 6 airbags, including side and curtain varieties, help to cushion the blow in the event of a crash. Active head restraints, which automatically tip forwards in an accident, help minimize whiplash injuries too. Only 2 seats but decent interior space, compact but wider than some rivals. Small boot is an awkward shape if you're considering buying a sports car like this because of its passenger space and luggage capacity, then you've misunderstood the concept. There's enough space inside the cabin for both occupants, but in true sports car style the 370Z errs on the side of snug rather than spacious, so taller drivers may find that head and legroom isn't as generous as they'd like. There's a useful cubby between the seats, and cars without sat-nav get a large storage box on the central console. The door pockets and glove box are a little small though. The 370Z measures up a bit smaller than a Porsche 718 Cayman but wider than a Toyota GT86. As such, we didn't feel as confident threading it down a narrow road as the Toyota. Still, it's easy enough to fit in a parking space, despite the heavy steering, and shouldn't pose much of a problem for your garage either. How to put this politely? A weekend away in a 370Z would be an exercise in efficient packing. The boot itself isn't huge at 235 liters, plus it's an awkward shape. As well as having a shallow profile, you also have to contend with intrusion from the rear suspension struts, which poke up through the boot floor, and get in the way of anything wider than a gym bag. To put it into context, a Porsche 718 Cayman has a larger rear boot and a secondary luggage area at the front of the car, despite having an engine in the middle of its chassis. Must try harder, 370Z. Prying eyes are kept averted by a detachable luggage cover which clips onto the tailgate, pulling it out of the way as it's opened. It's unlikely you'll be loading anything heavy into the car either, but if you do, be conscious that the loading lip is high, and with no protective molding you risk scratching the paint around the rear bumper too.